We've got just over 10 minutes for a couple of questions. Please identify yourself and your organization. Rustavi?
Natia Guksadze, Rustavi too. Let me ask you, Mr. Secretary General. As you know, greater part of Georgian population support Georgia's integration into NATO. You mentioned that Georgia is now closer to NATO than it was a few years ago. Can you just clarify and explain what does it mean? And before you leave, what could you tell to Georgians? What could be Georgia's expectation in the nearest future in this regard towards membership of NATO? Thank you.
Once again, let me stress that the decision we took at the NATO summit in Bucharest in 2008 still stands. That is a clear statement from NATO that Georgia will become a member of NATO. Since then, we have established the NATO-Georgia Commission, and within that commission, we have worked together to promote reforms in Georgia, and NATO has assisted Georgia in moving those reforms forward. So when I say Georgia has moved closer to NATO, I'm referring to the fact that our annual assessments clearly demonstrate that Georgia has carried through a number of reforms that are required for a future membership of NATO. So progress has been made, but of course there is still some work to do, and this is also a reason why I'm not able to present to you any timetable as to when Georgia can expect to become a member of NATO. That will very much depend on further progress.
Lady over there.
Ratim Mujivi, GPB First Channel. Mr. Secretary General, Russia's ambassador to NATO, Mr. Rasmussen, recently said that it's fact that Georgia and Ukraine are not NATO member is an achievement for Kremlin's foreign policy. What do you think? Does Moscow has some successful vetoing Georgia to implementing Bucharest summit decision that Georgia will become NATO member?
First of all, let me stress that no non-NATO member is in a position to veto any enlargement of NATO. It is NATO that decides on future enlargements. And I would like to stress that our open door policy is based on the fundamental principle that each and every sovereign nation has a right to decide its alliance affiliation herself. I would also like to stress that our open door policy is not directed against anyone, and it's definitely not directed against Russia. On the contrary, we want to engage positively with Russia. At our last summit in Lisbon in November a year ago, we agreed that we will develop a strategic partnership between NATO and Russia. But at the same time, our door remains open because, according to our treaty, NATO can decide to give access to our alliance to European countries that can contribute to Euro-Atlantic security and that can and will further the principles upon which our alliance is built. And this is a fundamental principle.
The lady there just in front.
Associated Press. The latest report of International Atomic Energy Agency suggests that Iran has worked on developing nuclear arms. So what will be your reaction to these findings? And does the news that, that Iran has nuclear capabilities threaten NATO borders?
First of all, I would like to stress that NATO as an alliance, as an organization, is not engaged in the Iran question. Individual allies are engaged in the international efforts to find a political and diplomatic solution to the problems related to the Iranian nuclear program. Having stressed that NATO as such is not engaged, I will, however, urge the Iranian leaders to comply with the relevant United Nations resolutions and stop their enrichment program. Indirectly, you may say that NATO allies have taken steps to prevent potential future threats against NATO territory and NATO populations from any aggressor. We decided last year that we will develop a NATO-based missile defense system. The reason is that more than 30 countries in the world have missile technologies or are acquiring, they have aspirations to acquire missile technologies, some of them with a range sufficient to hit targets on NATO territory. So for that reason, we have decided to develop a NATO-based missile defense system to protect our populations against any attack.
Lady over there, last but one row.
Thank you, Mr. General Secretary, Region TV. What can you say about the cooperation between Georgia and NATO in Afghanistan? What is the future plans of this cooperation, and will it help to Georgia to become a member of NATO? Thank you.
I would take this opportunity to express very strong appreciation of the significant Georgian contribution to our operation in Afghanistan. We are very grateful. It's a significant contribution. Your soldiers are doing a great job in Afghanistan. They operate in Afghanistan without caveats, which makes it possible for our commanders to make flexible use of Georgian troops in Afghanistan. I pay tribute to the Georgian soldiers for their service and their sacrifice. They make an important contribution to ensuring progress in Afghanistan and preventing the country from once again becoming a safe haven for terrorists. And this is a reason why we are in Afghanistan. And of course, the Georgian contribution to our operation in Afghanistan also helps to improve what we call interoperability between Georgian armed forces and NATO armed forces, their ability, their capability to work closely together. But having said that, and we will work to make further progress in that respect, but having said that, I would also like to stress that there is no direct link between contributions to our operations and future membership of NATO. It is one factor, but there are many elements that have to be fulfilled before a membership can materialize.
Yes.
Radio Liberty. In August of this year, NATO was the first among international organizations or structures to say that elections in a breakaway region in Abkhazia were illegal. And with Sunday, presidential elections are going to take place in South Ossetia, another conflict region. Do you already have a point of view on what is going to take place there? And a couple of minutes ago, you said that that you are happy with the way the Georgian government has engagement with these conflict regions. What kind of engagement do you want to see from the Georgia government? How should it engage with conflict regions? If you can elaborate a little bit.
First, I would like to say that our reaction to the upcoming elections in South Ossetia will be exactly the same as our reaction to the elections in Abkhazia. We pursue a clear non-recognition policy. We have not and we will not recognize, we have not recognized and we will not recognize Abkhazia and South Ossetia as independent states. And once again, let me stress that we insist on full respect for Georgia's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and we urge Russia to live up fully to her international obligations in that respect. As regards the engagement policy, I do believe that the only way to resolve the dispute on the breakaway regions, the only way forward is dialogue and cooperation and constructive engagement. This is also a reason why we appreciate that the Georgian government has engaged positively in the so-called Geneva talks. We have not seen that much progress, but nevertheless we do believe that such engagement in the Geneva talks is the only way forward. And at the same time, we think it is a constructive step that the Georgian president has stated in very clear terms that Georgia will pursue a non-violence policy. And we urge the Georgian government to engage as closely as possible with the two regions.
Thank you very much. This concludes our press conference. Thank you very much and good evening.